Welcome everybody to the March 16th New Moon Water Wisdom Connection, Water Wisdom Connect. We do this once a month, and this is an opportunity for water guardians, water advocates, water faithful to connect with other people doing this work and making the commitment in their lives to live with water as central as their source, and understanding the need to connect in sacred relationship with our source, with our water, and move beyond the delusion of separation that is leading to great confusion in our species. And that's really the first step, as we see it here, in coming back into sacred relationship with our water, is the first step to really understanding that we are all one on this planet. And Loving Waters has come from this motivation, this understanding, is that in order to really move forward in this invitation, we need to connect the water guardians all around the planet in our one source water, and really become activated in certain campaigns to give ourselves this opportunity to remember who we really are within the water, within the source water of the planet. And once a month, we do this connection call on the new moon. And once a month on the full moon, we encourage water guardians to go to their watershed, to their shores, and really, put their toes in the water, and if it's warm enough, and connect deeply with their own watershed, and to learn about the watershed, and to find out who are the water advocates in their watershed, and start really actively building those connections heart to heart, and connecting through Loving Waters. It's a loose network, a web around the planet that is steadily growing. And with Loving Waters, we connect with different campaigns. We have a campaign currently going with the Water Bearers, which is a nonprofit organization that provides water filters to places in need. And Shelley will talk more about that at the end of this call a little bit, and let you know about the campaign that we're running, and how you can support us and become a steward to help bring water filters to places in need through the Water Bearers. And we have on this call a very special guest. We have Grandmother Abril, who's very committed to her watershed and her region and all around the world, and is stepping into a role in the Loving Waters Council. And she has a great deal of earth wisdom and indigenous wisdom, which she's going to share a bit of that with us today. And then there'll be a brief question answer after her call, and then we'll have an open sharing for the people on the call, just to give updates as to what work they're already doing with the water, and what sort of their commitments have been, or asking any sort of deeper questions about practices. Or this call is to that we can connect and really support each other in our work with the water. And so we no longer feel alone. A lot of us have been doing this for many years, and we're just beginning to come into support of each other. And it's really a beautiful thing. And that's really the heart of this call, is to allow us to speak with others and share what we're doing, and get to know each other, and really spread what we're doing around the planet. So when you do introduce yourself, and I'll go through this again when we do our shares, we really would like to hear where you are on the planet and what your watershed is. We have a map going that Charlie is building for us, very graciously giving his precious time to build us a watershed map, and we'll keep building this out as we grow. And we'll keep people informed as new campaigns, as we get the capacity to create new campaigns. We're very interested in education and children curriculum. And so with that, I think I will pass it to Grandmother Abril. And before we do that, I'd just like us all to really come together and give ourselves a few unified breaths, and really feel the moisture in our own body, the moisture on our breath, and feel us imprinting that water with the memory of our intentions, and feel that water going out into the planet. And we just have a minute of silence to connect on this level of the water we breathe in and the water we breathe out, and feel ourselves and our hearts riding on this inward and outward, this ebb and flow of the water. Thank you. To all our relations connected through the water. Grandmother Abril, crystal listening bowl and speaking bowl is there with you now.
How marawaka nanani sa Otawin and Abril Mondragon na saiwaipu numna mestizo. Greetings, my relatives. My name is Otawin and Abril Mondragon, and I am a Numina or Comanche and Mestizo woman. And where I live is the Red Willow Valley of the Taos Pueblo people. This is the part of the Tewa world. And the Comanche came to be here around the 1600s during that period of time. And so my relatives are from Ranchos de Taos. So I would like to say a blessing and an expression of gratitude to the Tewa people, to their ancestors, those present, and the future generations to come, that I can live here in a good way with all that is here, you know. Some call this the Sangre de Cristos Mountains in northern New Mexico, but this is actually the Blue Lake watershed. And the Blue Lake was returned to the Tewa people, the Taos Pueblo, by President Nixon. More than 50 years ago now, I believe. So, and I want to thank you, the Loving Waters Council, and to my host, Elizabeth, for inviting me to share here today. I thank you so much. So today is 4 Bats by the Mayan calendar, and Bats carries the energy of creation's infinite time space. And the number 4 is very stable because it's got 4 pillars. So it carries that energy of the 4 directions, the 4 elements, in how we work with that number 4. So it's a very stable energy, and it is also within the 13-day cycle of Anil. Okay, so the Mayan calendar goes by 13 days of cycles, and so we are in the Anil, which is seed. And how perfect is that during this upcoming spring equinox, this beautiful energy for seeding that which is most beneficial for the garden of life that we're living together. So this March moon, the Comanche call it the cotton moon. And yesterday we have had so little precipitation, so little rain, and so little snow this year. But yesterday there was this rain, snow, and sure enough, it was these little puff balls, like little cotton balls yesterday. And I was going, wow, the cotton moon. The other thing that I want to mention too is that my in-laws on my son's paternal family, they're Eastern Band Cherokee Nation, the Tsalagi people. And Jamie Sams, she wrote a beautiful book, and it's called The 13 Clan Mothers. And it's about the 13 months, the 13 moon cycles. And this moon cycle for them is the moon of truth. So within the cultures, the moving toward this, the natural rhythm of our mother of 13, I can only, how should I say, invite the inspiring energy to align ourselves with our own Mother Earth's natural rhythm like that. So today I'm coming here, and the first thing that I would like to do is I would like to sing a prayer song. And then I would like to say some prayers, and then I want to give a short sharing about water and light, and then a very short sharing about respects to our watershed. So I want to thank each and every one of you in this circle for your sacred time to come here and listen. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a blessing to be here with you today. Thank you. So the song is from Jack Red Cloud, Oglala Lakota, and he's one of my relatives from Pine Ridge, from our family Sundance there. And this song came to him for the Raíces de la Tierra Sundance in Ixtlan, Mexico, because our relatives were asked to go down there. That dance was started some 30 years ago by Leonard Crodog, and it had gotten kind of imbalanced, and so they said, come down for 4 years and help us out. So this song is beautiful. It's a song that means life is sacred, the Chanupa is sacred, this place is sacred, life is sacred. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that. Wichoni Maya Kuelo, Wichoni Maya Kuelo, Wichoni Maya Kuelo, hey. Chanupa he wakayelo, Ochoka he wakayelo, Lichoni maya kumelo, Lichoni maya kumelo, Lichoni maya kumelo, Lichoni maya kumelo, Chanupa he wakayelo, Ochoka he wakayelo, Lichoni maya kumelo, heya heyo. Wankatanka tukashla wupinatanka. Wankantanka unchi wupinatanka. Wankantanka unchi maka wakan wupinatanka. Wankantanka tukashla unchi wupinatanka wunia wakan. Wupinatanka mini wichoni wakan. Wupinatanka wi wakan. Wupinatanka oyate wakan. Creation, source of all life. Grandmothers, grandfathers, ancestors who walk before us, thank you for your prayers and blessings that we are here today. Thank you for the sacred life that we are living. May our prayers and these times that we share together and in the way we walk in our life to also be that prayer and that blessing, that prayer emotion for those future generations to come. Creation of all life, thank you for the seed that created me and you and every living being. Thank you, creation, for this sacred life you've given us. So with good feelings, feeling good, and these prayers of heart thoughts and intention, that conscious living energy and motion, may we send blessings and prayers out to the four-leggeds, to the winged ones, to the swimmers, to the standing trees, to the stone nation, to the medicines, to the seen and unseen, to the pakwachis, the little people, the guardian spirits of nature, to the giants, the guardian spirits of nature, to the celestial beings, the star nation, the cosmos, to our Father Sun, to the moon and her tribe, her celestial family, and to the milk and honey galaxy, and to the infinite cosmos, and all of our relatives that live there. I want to thank you for this beautiful relationship, this marriage between Earth and all that is that gives us life. We want to send a prayer and a blessing for all those that may be suffering in the world from war or natural disaster, where they're having a hardship or they're homeless, or the people that suffer from addiction. We want to send out a prayer and a blessing for any form of suffering that we may be experiencing. May we send a prayer and a blessing out for the missing and murdered people. May we carry that blessing out that these things will come back into right relationship with life-giving, the life-giving source energy that is the source of our beings, human beings. So I want to thank you, Creator, for all the teachings that have been passed from generation to generation, that we can be sitting here today, together today with each other. And I want to say a prayer and a blessing for each and every one of you that are sitting in this circle. And may that prayer and blessing go from you to your families. And may you be provided all you need for a good life. And from that, I want that to go out to your relatives, asking to that prayer and that blessing to go to your relatives. And from those relatives to every other relative all over the mother. Send that all over to every relative that you can think of. So with that, I'm going to say a homi takuyasin and thank you for having me. When I was little, my dad said, we do our best each day not to forget anyone or anything in our prayers. And I said, wow, that could take all day. And he said, yeah, it could take your whole life. And so that's part of a beautiful thing. So some window came up and I got to close this. So what I want to share with you, and I want to thank you for your being present here and your deep listening. That word in the song, Wichoni, okay, you've heard it from Standing Rock. Mini, water. Mini is water. Wichoni, water is life. Okay, so in that word, Wichoni, is the word we also. And we actually means light, or light living in a sacred way. So that's one of the things that I wanted to share about the light. And so the little story I have is more than 15 years ago, I was with my son and I went over to his paternal family, and they have annual elder gatherings. And Tata Rigoberto came up from El Salvador with his wife, and he did a sharing. And I'm going to share just a little small part of that sharing with you. Because loving waters, if we think about loving waters, or walking in a sacred relationship with water as a path of peace. So that's what this little story is about. There were about 12 of us in the circle, and Tata. And he asked us, he said, how many colors of flowers are there in the world? And we said, oh, there's so many colors of flowers, Tata. He said, yeah. He says, well, how many colors of animals are there in the world? He said, thought about, oh, there's so many colors of different shades and patterns of colors of animals in the world, Tata. I said, yeah. Well, how many colors of fish are there in the rivers and the ocean? Oh my goodness, Tata, there's so many colors of fish and swimmers everywhere in different shapes and sizes, right? So, yeah, all those creatures. How many colors of stones are there? Oh my goodness, Tata, we can't even count the number of that. There's so many different stones and colors. So he said, then why do human beings have a problem with how many colors of human beings there are? So over the years, it's these little, seemingly little teachings for me. These, and I want to tell you a little bit about him too, if you want to hear that. But that over the years, they go deeper and deeper with me. And so when I started to really look at this teaching about, that was called a fire teaching, or light, it's about light and fire, this element, I began to realize that, and just by observing, the water, the light when it glistens in the river, the water when it glistens in the ocean, the water that glistens in a complete rainbow when it rains. And so this light within us, okay, is part of our light. We're part of that. The water and the light, we're part of that. That's what makes us be. So our another way of putting that light, associating it with ourselves as human beings being human, okay, is that we all have, the source of life is conscious, aware, and its energy in motion, okay, is the intention. The conscious, aware, intentional motion. So we each have our own frequency and resonance and flavor. We have our own light. That's who we are. And it has that. So also that the light and the water. So when we talk about our songs of being that frequency and song about who we are, that brings in breath. And our flesh bodies are like the earth, like that. So that brings me to wanting to share about these respects. So often we hear things said about morals and ethics. But I want to turn it around and look at it in a cultural way. Okay, because morals and ethics have to come from the culture of which you're nourishing. So this movement, this flow of the web of healing the web of life through the waters and our relationship with nature is about a socio-cultural change, particularly for Western industrialized cultures, like that. So we also hear in the world today, women standing up there saying, no more violence towards women. They're expressing their grief in regard to missing and murdered women. But there's violence toward our brothers as well. When we send our brothers off to war, it's an incredibly brutal and abusive environment for our mankind to be in. So what I want to talk about, and I'm going to shift it a little bit here, but you get that picture of we're saying, okay, we want this respect. So I was thinking about that, about us asking for respect and how we integrate our practices with our water and our watershed and our relationship with the natural environment, and how that's going to influence the culture within our own families. As human beings, being part of one human family here, how we're going to, look at this. And so I want you to imagine that you're going over to your sister or your brother's house. This is your direct relative. And you show up at their house and you kind of just, crack the door open and say, hey, I'm here. And it's like, oh, hey, sister, come on in. And, everything's really, really feels good, right? You go over to a really close friend's house and you might knock a little bit and then pop the door, say, hey, I'm here. And they say, oh, yeah, see, mi casa es su casa. My home is your home, right? Come on in, And there's that feeling too, right? And I want you to go further down the road to another neighbor, okay? You don't know them so well. You knock on the door and you hear, they say, who are you? Who's there? Oh, it's me. Right? And they say, oh, okay. And they open the door and they say, and they don't immediately invite you in. They just say, hey, well, what's up? Oh, well, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. And either they invite you in or they don't. Then you go further down the road, and there's a gate fenced, and there's a guard dog there with a little buzzer on the side. You push the buzzer, and they say, "What do you want?" You got a lot of different flavors here going on. This is just on the surface, because like I said, you can go a lot of way with this one. So something that I was taught when I was little, how my family does it, okay? I want you to introduce you to how my family does. So right outside my home is the high desert ecosystem, and that is a very, how should I say, it's not fragile, but it's I don't know the word. I can't think of the English word for it, but it's a very gentle ecosystem really out there in the desert. So it's like if I were to go take a walk from there, I would most likely pick one of the coyote trails because they're pretty well run. You know, those guys, they got there. Because I don't need to create as a two-legged an additional path, really. Because they go all kind of places and they're really obvious out here. So, but if I head toward my mountain watershed, everybody knows that as you go into that watershed, various different ecosystems, because I may go out all the way up to 11,000 feet, depending on what kind of medicines or what I might be doing over there with the waters or what I'm tending to, you know. So I found, I didn't know this until I got invited and traveled into other places in the world, that this practice that I was taught is that, you know, we walk out our doors and we come to that place. It's like, okay, it's over there, it's across the road, and then I go head into the desert, right? But there's that trail. I walk up the road and I say, oh, there's one of those trails I can follow, right? But I stop there. And what I do first is I have a prayer offering in my hand and I introduce myself. Okay, I say, it's me, here I am. I want to come visit. And this is what my intention for going here. Maybe just a walk on a beautiful day. I want to commune with you. I want to visit and be with you. Or maybe I'm looking for medicines, a particular medicine that's that time of year. And I say, may I come? You know? And then I lay down my offering right there. And then I wait. This is what we were told. You wait to hear the acknowledgement. You're welcome. Come. Come, my daughter. Come, my brother. Come, my son. You know, come. You know. And so what I'm talking about is our inherent senses when we're listening beyond the 5 physical senses is our inherent knowing, our inner and interconnection with all life. And we have that. And that's part of why if we see such a troubling situation of so much violence toward women, toward our children, men experiencing violence too, that where have we lost the ability to deeply listen to those other senses that are inherent, they're natural to us, you know, like that. So, I think that's good. And I know we're going to probably move toward question and answer or sharing or whatever. And I want to thank each and every one of you again And in the chat box, what I want to say is that if there's anyone here that wants to connect with me personally, I'll put my Facebook. You can private message me there. I'll put my email address. You can email me for an appointment. And I'll put my website for my arts. And I want to invite anyone who wants to support the works of the grandmothers, if they so choose, through Loving Waters. Please let them know. And I just want to thank you. So with that, aho me takoyase.
Thank you, Grandmother Abril. That was beautiful. The art of the invitation is something we've lost, and it's a very important thing to meditate on. So that's a very important takeaway for me. It's something I've known for many years, but it's, there's always deeper invitation we can receive. We can keep going deeper into that knowing and that place of receptive gratitude, and I really am very appreciative of what you. Thank you for coming to us and sharing that wisdom with us. There's I believe there's a universal law that we can have almost anything we ask for if we ask properly, if we know how to really ask from a humble, gentle, considerate, compassionate place, and then to give back in the same spirit. I open this up now for a few minutes if anybody has any questions they would like to address to Grandmother Abril. I'm also going to put in here our Loving Waters website, and then we're also on Facebook. You can find us with Loving Waters, is with an S. And then I invite Abril to put in the chat her information as well as with her work. She's an incredible painter. She has beautiful painting that she does. She paints gourds, beautiful cards. So it's really worth looking at her creative expression, because there's a lot of vision and wisdom in there. So I open it up to anybody that wishes to speak. Just to remember to unmute yourself, and then after we've had this session directly to Abril, then we'll open it up to the more general water wisdom sharing.
What I forgot to say is that also bodies of water do the same thing with the bodies of water, whether it's a river or a lake or a stream or the ocean. It's like when I travel and I'm around waters I have not been to, I go and introduce myself to the water there. Same thing with what I'm talking about. So imagine if we're teaching our kids this kind of way, they would think twice about ever just doing something to somebody else without asking. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would just like to share with you, Grandmother, that when you were brought up, we were talking about light. I sometimes go into automatic writing, and this is what came through as you were speaking. Light on the water dances within our hearts, thanking us for our presence. Bless you for your your teaching and your sharing of respect, which is so important when we greet the land, greet the water, greet all life. It's something we as humans have taken for granted, just as we have taken for granted the waters and all of life. And we need to come back to that place of centeredness and respect. So thank you so very much for your wisdom sharing today. I'm complete.
So we can open it up to sort of the open mic, and unless somebody has more to speak directly to Abril or questions, then you can include that in your sharing as well. I will say that Abril will have to leave a few minutes early to take care of another obligation. So we will go to for about another 45 minutes or so, and she'll just leave like 10 minutes early or so. So yeah, we open it up. You're welcome to share with us where is your home watershed. Let us know that. If you don't know, then that's your homework. Find out what your watershed is. It's really important that we understand how our water makes its journey from the top of the mountains to the sea. Because there's a great quote from Wendell Berry, which is do unto those downstream of you as you would have those upstream of you do unto you. Is that is our common bond. That is what connects us. And when we start living that way as a steward to our watershed, we really begin to understand how we are all connected. And when we do something to someone downstream, someone could just as well be doing the damage to us upstream. And so we truly are fully connected, and what is done to one, it affects all.
Well, this is Shelley, darling, for those of you who are on the phone or just listening in. I'm in Sarasota, in the Sarasota watershed, and very appreciative of these waters because it's warm now. I mean, it's still cool, but the waters are incredibly friendly. I like that, especially during the winter. And I just wanted to thank you, Grandmother Abril, for your stories, the simple stories, the ones that we can easily share with another, I feel like are really important right now, especially to share them down to the children. And also, I just felt such a joy in the description of coming and greeting the element of water, the element of land, the trees, everything. I mean, it goes for every being, the two-leggeds and the winged ones and the ones in the ocean. And the sense of joy, to really begin to, I feel like so much right now, our communication is so essential, and it's something that I've been working on for so long. But this communication that where people can actually experience the joy, because as soon as you were describing in such simple ways a way to greet the land and others, and to become aware that there are more than five senses, because for the most part, people I meet actually don't get that. They don't understand. They haven't had an experience, or they have forgotten that they had the experience. So I feel like this call is just really bringing that forward, and it's being shared with our waters because as a whole living system. So, and P.S. I was looking at that painting behind you, and was really noticing the heart. That I couldn't see all of it, but the heart of creation has so much to do with what's being shared here tonight. So I'm complete and pass the virtual crystal and talking stick.
So this is Wasseljot, Grandmother Eileen, and I just want to say Hawa to you, Grandmother Abril. So many things triggered, I don't even quite know where to start. As I get older, what I find myself reaching for in my existence is simplicity. And, from being led and blessed and taught and loved and so on by so many different First Nations people, what I've come to value and know so much is just how beautiful it is when an elder or anyone really shares something such as what you did today. And not only did it put me into a place of deeper remembering, but it also brought an ingredient, I suppose, or another aspect of permission for me, so that, because those are, that is my practice, and I just feel like I have a little bit more comfort now as I move about in the world. When I come, when I go outside, I'm going to remember this teaching. I'm going to, feel more permission. I already do feel more permission to, to really be in communion with the water and all that is. And so thank you, Hawa, for that, and just for, the beauty of what you shared today. I live in a territory where there's 5 different tribes that belong to what's known as the Cowichan people. The English name that you might see on a map is Cowichan, and that's how they've named the watershed that I live near. And so, I pay attention to issues as they arise in our community that support and possibly threaten that watershed, and the community is working pretty much as a whole to ensure that we, because we've had some seasons where we didn't have sufficient water, and so there's an ongoing conversation that we are having to ensure that we treat that water and all that who need it with respect and care. So our territories here, the people here are part of the bigger group known as the Coast Salish, and you'll see the Salish Sea, Salish, on the maps. So I hope that's helpful for the database that you're assembling. So it's a real honor to be here, and thank you so much. I hope. Big hug.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. I hope you are inspired enough to return next new moon. I really enjoy your energy. Really.
Yeah, Grandmother Wasseljot, where Grandmother Carol's going to be on next month.
I'm hooked.
Okay.
And so much of what you said really triggered myself. So thank you for continuing that wisdom.
I just want to say Maya was trying to talk, Maya, and I heard you, so I just wanted to let you know. You can try again and see if we can hear you. No. Type it in, and we can repeat it.
Or you can try coming out and coming back in, like maybe even restarting your computer. We'll still be here. We'll wait for you. I do want to welcome Oriana and Kathy Wallace. You came on sort of late, and just really want to welcome you and welcome you to speak your truth and your voice on this call. We'd love to hear from you.
And Kathleen came too at the very end.
Oh yes, Kathleen Abril, yes.
This is Shanti Hart in Chicago. And I loved the idea of, as soon as I started to approach, my watershed is Lake Michigan, a part of the Great Lakes. And I like the idea of approaching it in a more reverent way. I mean, our shoreline in Chicago is all Chicago Park District, and you park in parking lots, off of streets, or you get off of public transportation, or you walk. And then there's some park places, playgrounds, and some places there's rocks, and some places there's beach. And so I guess because it just seems like such an extension of the rest of the urban area, I've never really stopped and done that. And I just show up like, oh, I'm here to do my ceremony, or I'm here to take my walk, or whatever. And I just go. And, oh, I think I'll get onto the beach. And when the weather's warm enough, oh, I'll take off my shoes. And it's all about me and how I'm connecting. And I like, I'm going to start doing that. As each time I will, there's some trees that I always stop and talk to, but the whole thing, every single element of it, every bit of the elements, to be more reverent and respectful, and really honor them more. And I liked the thought of visiting people, and it would be like, okay, they are my friends. I do feel that way about it all. I love them dearly, like family. But it would be like I just walked into my family's house and didn't say anything to anybody, just walked in, grabbed a cup of coffee, it would be so disrespectful. And so I liked that you pointed that out to me. It's like, when you come in, you say hello. Hi, it's me, I'm here. Even though they know me, but so thank you so much for, and in such a beautiful storytelling way of sharing that. I appreciate that, and I appreciated the prayers and the songs and you. Thank you.
And this is Shalania, and I live near the Kumsaya River. That's the Nisenan name for the river. And it is it goes into the Sacramento River, down through the Delta, into the Bay, into the Pacific Ocean. So it's an extended river, and it extends even up further into the Sierras and coming down from Sacred Mount Shasta and beyond. And so it's I'm very honored to be able to have been here. And I'm so grateful to be in Grandmother Abril's presence, and Grandmother Abril, I can't say that name. It doesn't look like it's spelled, but Wazzlejot, I believe it is. I'm so very grateful that you made it. And I was just remembering, in the sweetness of Abril's speaking about that respect as we enter into the natural world and the subtle communication that, I just was remembering all that. And just since this afternoon, but it's so wonderful, because it seems like then there's this beautiful reciprocity that comes through. We're so glad you're here. Oh, we just love when when you're here, and you're so welcome, and just, you're always welcome here. And so it's just a beautiful, beautiful idea. And so I'm grateful just thinking about that, just having had a beautiful day and been to the river and been doing some ceremony. And I loved the whole idea of respect. I was just doing some, kind of contemplation of some things that are going on in my life. And I was making a list of some things and how you can be able to express them in your life. And so I made this list and of various different things. And so I went to bed that night. And then when I got back up, I got to the list and I was going through, and I love, working on the word process, and I'm cutting this and this goes top, but as I was looking at all of the things, and I know I just want to mention this as well, how we change the culture through our relationship with the natural world and with ourselves and with each other. That is, it is a co-creating of a new culture. And so anyway, I was looking, and as I was looking at all of these attributes or values, I cut respect and I put it at the very top, and I thought you can't really do this, or you can't do that, or all of the other things, different things I had on my list without the respect, because that's, and it's just such a depth sometimes coming into a very sacred place where you can feel a ways away. And sometimes there's almost like a couple of doorways before you get there. I mean, I've experienced that where, you make an offering and then, okay, you can go this far. And then you feel the sacredness of it. Oh, am I really ready to go this far and make an offering and be able to go further? So I'm very grateful for that. And the last thing that I want to mention is that whole idea of the light. It's such a beautiful way of thinking about it, of the light within, and that when we can see that light within each other, and remember that even though they might not be exhibiting their deepest connection with the light at that moment, that we can be able to respond at least from that place of light within us, if we can have that remembrance. And I wanted to, what Charlie said was so beautiful, and it was like, when we know or when we know each has that light within. And if you get a chance, could you put in the chat if there was anything else beyond that? But anyway, that's I thank you for listening. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for doing this and all of your love for the water. So I will put the crystalline whatever we're using signal that I'm complete. Thank you so much.
Really want to thank you, Shalania, for the work you're doing with the water for so many years and so consistently, and the blessings that you give our beautiful watershed. We do share a watershed. I'm a little further north than she is, and I really started waking up to this. This magic, the reciprocity you were talking about, when I had the blessing to live on the South Yuba up in the high country off of Eagle Lakes Road, which you probably recognize in your drives to Tahoe. And it's right at Old Man Mountain, which is the point that you kind of break through to the Sierra and you see this big peak that resembles Half Dome. And we were right in that bowl. And so for about 7 years, I lived on the South Yuba, and I really developed my sacred relationship there. And, some days I would go and I would be clueless, and other days I would go and have this beautiful connective experience with the water. And I was trying to think about, I started thinking about what's different between these two experiences and all the segments in between. And I really realized that it was my intentional greeting to the water, and not so much me trying to do blessings on the water, but me coming to this place of receptivity where I could just allow the water to bless me, and I could receive her messages. And I started really hearing the water speak to me and communicate with me in that joyful reciprocity that just gives me shivers right now when I talk about it, because it is such a deep source conversation into a truth that is hiding in plain sight. You know, that water is source, and we are her children, and we are all of the same energy. And to change my own way of being, where I can humbly come to a place of request and invitation to make that connection, that I'm coming to make that connection. And I'm always surprised at what shows up, and the joy and the gratitude that water has for us to be ready to come to her in this place of truth. So that's what I want to share at the moment. And would Maya, why don't you give it a try? See if we hear you.
I hear you all better now. Can you hear me? Yes. So that worked. And thank you for reminding me to shut it down and start again, like reboot. Sometimes I need to do that in my life too. So yes, I'm here in Santa Barbara coastal watershed, Southern California. And we've been having lots of experiences with water here. Some frightening for people with the heavy rains and mudslides in January. And now I am so grateful. We are getting one rainstorm after another, but they're gentle and there's space in between. And I feel like the waters have been listening to our water ceremonies and the others in the community who've been praying. And I'm hoping it continues like that. I'm affirming that it will. And it's helping, because people have really developed a fear of the clouds and the waters, and I've been doing my best to help with that. But so I'm so grateful for that. And also today, a dear young friend of mine just went into labor, so those waters were breaking and flowing, and I'm so excited. It's her second child. And thinking about that, of reminding me again of how we start in the water, and in the water of our mother's womb, and the waters break and flow, and that's what gives us our passageway out into this world. And I loved hearing your stories, Abril, and the knocking on the doors, and remembering that as a child I grew up in a rural area, and I just naturally did that. I had a mother who, I don't know, she let us go out in the woods all day long by ourselves, me and my one little brother. And that was really my haven. There was a lot of trauma in my family, and I think that's where I went for comfort and respite. And I had a natural understanding that they were there. I would announce myself and sing to them, and trees and the plants and the rocks. And, you know, and then later, sort of after college and everything, I was like, well, maybe after high school, I sort of forgot about that. And then it was through some Native teachers and that I came back to remembering that and realizing, yes, that this, all these beings are alive and conscious and do recognize me and do feel my entering in to the garden or the forest or whatever, the desert. And then it was more recent learning, really the idea of I was always a listener, but permission and asking permission. And I just want to share, I have expanded that in the past few years to my car and my computer. I talk to them, and actually I have a turkey feather that's beaded, a Lakota friend of mine gave me, that hangs on my mirror. And a friend got in the car the other day and said, oh, what kind of feather? And I said, it's a turkey feather for gratitude, because this car doesn't run on gas, it runs on gratitude. I have an old car, and I believe that my talking to it every day, thanking it, appreciating it, is actually what's kept it going. Sometimes it's had things wrong with it, and it just sort of fixed itself. So I do extend, even though I don't know about the intelligence of mechanical things, they are made of things of the earth. And so I've started doing that. And I also, Elizabeth, you speaking reminded me, I've shared this before with some of you, but it was in 1987, the year of the harmonic convergence, that I was a backpacker and a hiker, and I was up in the backcountry above Santa Barbara at a place of a beautiful double waterfalls. And it was late in the season for us. In the summer months, we don't go up in the backcountry. They don't want anybody doing fires, or, that's kind of a fire season. So this was the end of the spring. And when I went, the river and the waterfalls were completely clogged with sediment and tree branches and leaves. And my partner and I spent hours just cleaning it out and allowing it to flow again. And when it did, when it started flowing, these hummingbirds and swallows and butterflies started coming in, like they felt the energy shift, and they just all showed up. And it was so, so powerful. And I realized that we were doing service. We were loving the water and cleaning it. And really, I guess what felt like my reward for that was, after that, I went up the stream above the waterfall and sat and meditated and was looking in the water, and had this sudden communication, understanding the water was intelligent. I saw little vortex beings in the water, and they, heart to heart, spoke to me and shared so much information. And I was just blown away. And I don't think I talked to anybody about it for a couple of years, because I think they would think I was crazy. And that was quite a while ago. There's so many more water lovers and understanders of, but I am forever grateful to that, because that was the beginning of my coming into service to the water. And I did make a pledge that day of protecting the waters. So thank you for inviting me. Just speaking that again just vibrates my heart so much. So with that, I pass the crystal talking stick to whoever would like to speak and share.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you, Maya.
Respond a little bit, because each and every one of you have really deeply moved, brought me a lot of joy, and I've got these like little tears. So it's like I'm going, ooh, yeah. And one of the things I want to mention, it's like sometimes we get when we say ask permission, it's such a rough word in the English language, but it's exactly what Maya's talking about, that sense of gratitude, where, when she was talking about it being a little girl, it's really that going back to that pure essence, the pure essence of who we are, interacting with these other living beings. Exactly. And it's like the one thing that I didn't mention was, it's kind of like, when your honey says, hey, beauty, you want to, come dance with me, and like you get that big grin on your face, and this is kind of like that moving. What I know the feeling is that once we can bring that reverence or that respect back into ourselves, that it eventually turns to the pure essence of who we really are, and that's innocence. Because we're all children of our mom, and she loves us. And the river, what Maya was talking about, it's like, it was all like a clogged artery, and Maya comes along with her honey, and it says, oh, thank you. So much gratitude for helping clean me out so that I can run again and flow again vibrantly with my life, you know. And so I just really want to acknowledge that and my little sense of humor, because yeah, we tend to appear really serious about a lot of this stuff, and it's serious because the seriousness is that if we can see that this is a pathway to shift the culture so that we in our relationships with everything and each other return to that, because we are in a crisis right now with violence. So yeah, I want to be a safe kid, and we want our children to be safe too in that way. So yeah, thanks for listening to me again. Oh.
Oh.
Kathleen, would you like to speak? Or Oriana or Kathy Wallace?
Hello, everybody. I'm trying to find my video.
There you
Yay!
are.
So I am
Hello.
finally learning technology and have pretty much now mastered Zoom. Thank you. This is quite apparent. I have often overbooked myself and been to these calls at the last minute. But I want to say deep gratitude and ask for apology, Grandmother Abril, for coming to your teachings, you know, haphazard way. I really wanted to be here, but I apologize for being late, and if that disrupted anything. I just consistently come here to be with all of you because I need you. I need to see each and every one of you. I need to hear everything that you're thinking and feeling and saying, because I need it. And I just want to say thank you for all of you for doing the calls so that I can see you, or else needs to see you can see you. And complete.
Well, ditto, Kathleen, we need you.
I am Oriana. And Maya, we must have been in the same woods at the same time. That's where I spent all of my childhood, and it was my nurturing. So talking with the fairies and the divas and the spirits, it's just what I did. And I had two older brothers who told me I was crazy because there wasn't anybody there, and I had to stop talking so crazy because flowers don't talk. So I never stopped talking to them. I just stopped telling people that I did. And it's only been recently, within the last few months, that I've really started speaking again as that being in the non-material realm. And as the ancient Egyptians knew that the universe is traveled in pairs, a non-material realm and a material world. And that life flowed through, the energy came from the non-material realm. And so a couple of years ago, I was in San Diego dancing on the beach after a beautiful retreat. And I became the water, the waves, the whole of the bay, and voice came to me very clearly and said, I am the living water. Will you be my voice? I said yes, and I didn't know what that meant. And in the couple years since, and since I have a degree in biochemistry and advanced studies in physics, quantum physics, and following the latest developments in health, I also had a mentor, Emily Conrad, who developed Continuum, which is a movement form going internally within the body to explore the inner realm. And the inner realm is explored much like a dolphin, where you send out a sonar wave and wait for the interference pattern to come back. And I have learned to read these interference patterns and have discovered there's a universal language that is multidimensional. And I'm learning to language this and bring others to find where this is languaged within them, or it's where evolution encodes. And one of my teammates with our mentoring group with Barbara Marks Hubbard had given me the name of involution as what I do, where evolution is actually encoded within us, and therefore that encoding is our wisdom that we bring and share. The involution then is knowing where and how this is encoded within, and how to unfurl and unfold the wisdom that we bring in. So the living water, I have come to know, is within our physical form, awakening and returning to knowing that life was originated from living water, as the water formed life in a one-celled organism of the archaea, which bacteria formed from. So the archaea are the oldest form of life. And it evolved to be a mitochondria. So we all have mitochondria in common, including all of the mammals in the sea. And we all have chloroplasts, which also developed from this single organism that was created through the living water. And it returns to knowing through evolution that life is evolving to know it is living water. And I'm learning still with a doctor, PhD, who's discovered so much about the cerebral spinal fluid. And I am learning of the water internally and how it activates the stem cells within the cerebral spinal fluid, so that we have the wisdom of our own health, and that there's a stem cell of the world that we as living water have the will to live and bring this the resonance of this higher frequency, so that the world is attuned at a higher frequency that is capable of coordinating all life and all beings who are of living water. And I thank you for bringing the living water as loving water.
Thank you so much, Oriana. So I would love to give Shelley a few minutes to talk about the water bears and the water filters. Also want to mention that if you want to go and register your website, you can just go to our Facebook. Sorry, you can go to our Loving Waters website. I've just I'm going to just post it here and go to the very bottom of the page, and there's a form that you can fill in and put your watershed in, and then we'll add it to our watershed map, and we're building that out now in terms of presence on our page for that. So Shelley, would you like to go ahead and share with the water filters campaign?
Sure, thank you, Elizabeth. Well, I first have to follow Oriana's thread because it was so relevant for this experience that I had coming from Australia to here. And so I spent many years not teaching continuum, but taking continuum into working with emotional body. And jumping a big leap to this winter, spending a lot of time with the whales, I got a message from the whales. And it's really funny because tonight I wanted us to hold in the field. Last time we came together, we had Elowan. So it's kind of a little bit jumbled here, but Elowan, and they're all with the whales right now, Elowan and Catherine Parker. And it was a journey that I was attempting to go on, but it wasn't meant to be this time. And tonight I pulled the whale card, which is, I'm not going to read it right now, but just because of time, but I wanted to say that what the whales eventually, and I was with Charlie in New Hampshire, what came out of my journey, and the whales started to communicate, and they were telling me that I had to teach people how to track the frequency that you're describing, Oriana, through the body. Teach people to how to track that frequency, because it was it was a way for them to begin to experience what you were describing as that sonar experience of really tracking their own heart's design in being who they are. And when we do that, everything else falls away except for that, right? So we have to finish talking about that because it feels like there's something really empowering there. So I just want to follow that thread that there is, this conversation tonight where it began with Abril, and where it really leading that, I love that she shifted the word permission, because it wasn't really sitting really well inside of me, because that's not it just feels very like old paradigm-ish. And when we understand that we're communicating with the waters within and the waters without through whatever, the animals, the trees, the land, so more on that. I think this is very thrilling, and I think that there's something birthing itself here tonight, which would be perfect, right? It's a new moon, so this creative content. So I'm going to speak about what Elizabeth now asked me to speak about. So we are really building our relationships with certain people and certain organizations that are just the way they show up. It's not like we're running out there trying to capture and make a list of these hundreds of resources. But the water bearers was an experience that when I went to New Zealand, I had this experience of bringing these water filters, and really one water filter can change the life of 100 people for 10 years, being able to have clean water. And so we have been in a month-long fundraiser for creating more water filters as the Vanuatu water stewards of Loving Waters. A percentage goes to Vanuatu, but basically this particular water, it's for World Water Day, and it's for the world where those filters need to go. And they are life-changing. I saw people grabbing and holding onto their buckets like in tears. Please don't leave us with more of these, because they're, even in the places that we think have clean water, they don't. So the request and the support would be if you could just share out the fundraiser, or even one water filter, that you could donate would make that kind of a difference. This is very powerful. And or even in the next week, it ends on World Water Day is the 22nd. But if you feel to even invite people for dinner and ask them to donate, it could be anything. So we're just inviting you to share that out, or come up with a creative idea, even in the last few days of this. And this is, like Elizabeth we were talking today, this is an ongoing, Loving Waters is ongoing, building that relationship with the water bearers and these filters, because people are really needing clean water, and these water filters work. They've been in Liberia and all kinds of places. Now they're in Puerto Rico. They need to get out there until we can figure out a way to really clean our waters. Many are doing this through ceremony, but also like really physically. So that's what I have to say. And you can go to Loving Waters and click on the campaign, and it gets you directly to where you can become one of our Loving Water Vanuatu water stewards, and you can decide to create your own fundraising event, or just come donate. And actually at this point, really, even $5 puts us in a greater position to be able to do that. So don't feel like even $1 or $5 or $25, you don't have to donate $50. So with that, I'm complete, and I hand it back to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so we have basically three minutes for our time. So I would invite anybody here that feels called to give us a sort of grounding, loving, compassionate close to kind of just bring this expression to a completion. For now, it's ongoing. Certainly I want to say that we've picked the full moon to have people go down to their watersheds, but every day is Water Day, and every day is World's Water Day. So this is more just one focal point, but really it's opening your whole life to receiving the blessings of water every day, every time you take a drink, every time you take a shower, every time you wash your clothes, water your garden. It's all part of this greater gratitude for our living, loving, intelligent source water. Yeah. So if anybody feels called at all to just give us a couple minutes of resonance to close, I would love to receive.
I would love
Thank
to.
you. Thank you.
And since I am the voice of the living water, I have no idea what I'm going to say. So, allowing the water to speak, feeling it ripple through. A field of resonance, where we begin to notice we're floating in resonating field, floating in a field where we communicate through the living water that carries the currency of electrical charge moving through your physical form, allowing light and electrons, electricity, electrical currency, the plasma of the universe flowing into form. Oh, what a wondrous world to explore. As I fashion form, the formlessness I hold is a form that will carry me in the currency of life, unfolding life. How does the water give rise to life? It is encoded within to know. Water carries life. Like a mother carries an embryo. Life is our child being born. Being born, not something you do once, but something you do as you surrender into being born, carried on the currency of life, unfurling life. In the rhythm of the universe.
Thank you so much. That was just yummy.
And as you were doing that, Ariana, it just started, my doors open and the rain just started coming. Oh, beautiful, soft rain.
Yeah, I had thunder here. I have to say that I resonate greatly with your being the voice of the water. I've given the name Herald as being the voice of the water. So that's my spirit name.
Harold?
Just call me Herald. Well, thank you. We will do it again next moon. And if you do water blessings in your watershed, then certainly post them on our Facebook. Invite you, if you haven't signed up yet, to sign up on our website. There's a form at the bottom of our page, and that way we can send you updates, reminders. We don't send too much out, but we really do want to invite more and more people on this call. And we at times have people all over the world, which is really incredible to feel that connectivity and that oneness. Yeah, and just keep talking all month, send us in water inspirations, and you can send them to us and we'll put them on the website. Or yeah, and if it's something you want to keep doing for us, we can add you as an editor, and so you can be more proactive. So thank you, loves. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Blessings to each of you. Thank you.
Really want to honor